The 100, Season 4, Episode 2, Heavy Lies the Crown. Now, just to start off, I mean, technically, it was one step forward and one step back, so they're just screwed in the same way they were before, I guess. But this was an interesting episode. I mean, we have them trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do. We have, they already have meltdowns headed their way, so which they referenced in this episode, which I thought was cool because in the last one, that's when we find out that the meltdown has already happened. Like, it's headed towards them from a different part of the planet. So they, at this point, it's like, well, we've got nothing. All we can possibly do is stay here. And they come up with a really good idea, which is to actually just stay in the Ark. They just have to repair the ship, and it'll work because it survived in space through, massive temperature fluctuations, as well as, exposed radiation, because they're just right out there with the sun. So, genius idea. And they come up with the plan to get, basically, I forgot exactly what it was called. It was like some hydro thing in order to create water. So that way, all of their people could stay within the Ark. And it was a really good plan. And, it's like, it's one half of this episode that it started off well, and then it fell down. I mean, they had a good plan, and they, of course, go back to Ice Nation. And once they get there, it's like, all right, they fortunately aren't just killed off and stuff, and they give the people the thing, like the big talisman that Roan gave them, and they're let into the room to get this device, and that's when they see that these people have like all these slaves and stuff. They have them fixing up the ship, and that's why the ship is working, because they mention that very, very briefly. Ramonti's like, you ever seen a grounder that can get a ship working? And they go in, and there's just all these slaves. They have all these people working for them, one of which happens to be one of the people that was on Farm Station. And that was very interesting once that happened. And I was like, not where I thought this was headed. And so we have, I can't remember the character's name. I want to say his name was Brad. But, he was the one who was there, who kind of suffered during all the crazy stuff that happened there with Pike and Monty's mom and dad. So it was just very interesting watching them go through that, and I was like, I don't know how this will play out, because I think he might snap, because that's kind of like his whole thing, is that he wants to kill them all off, because they were just constantly attacked, and there was no, they didn't have any of the good stuff that the main characters had, where it started off really crappy, and then it eventually ended up working out as they formed relationships. It was just bad for them the whole way through. So he didn't have, the same sort of emotions as like, he's here, he's one of our people, we need to just wipe them out. And of course they come up with the plan to use the water filtration system, or really the water creation system, in order to, kill off all the grounders that are there. So they use it as a bomb, they wipe out the grounders, and they save all the prisoners, and now they're kind of just back to square one. It's like, what do we do, even though we have an idea, to fix the Ark? I think they mentioned they can save, instead of 500 people, they can only save like 100 people as far as water goes, because that's just what they have. That's all they've got as far as usable water, is for just about 100 people. So now the plan goes back to, is there another Mount Weather sort of situation, which they talk about in this episode. If there is one, with everything that's happened, there's no way they're going to, the grounders are going to share that information. So they have to figure out, if there is another one like that, another underground base, they have to figure that out for themselves, because they can't get that information from anyone else unless they send someone back to the capital to try to get information from Roan, like, hey, is there another Mount Weather? And, what's the deal with that? If he even knows about it, because, of course, Ice Nation is, really far out. Like, it's literally in a place where it's snowing all the time now because of the nuclear fallout. It, like, changed the climate of the area. So it's literally, like, is basically they can walk to Alaska at this point. So it's such a different situation. Would they even have known about, Mount Weather and the people coming down and stuff like that? Or is that just like not a part of anything he's ever had to experience? So there's a lot to it as far as what they can or cannot do going forward, but they can't create the water in order to save all of their people. Even like Bellamy's whole thing, Bellamy and Raven, is like, all right, well, we save our people now, and we're good. That's all we need to deal with, is we save our people. And then, of course, it goes to Clark, and she's like, well, I want to save everybody. I don't just want to save our people. So, of course, she didn't plan on stopping there anyway with the water filtration system. She wanted to go beyond that to find a way to save all of these people, which they will not be able to save everyone. They're way, like, even with all the 13 clans, there's just too many people. There's just no way that they could find a spot to save all these people. I just don't see it happening unless they somehow magically fix that building and all 13 clans stay in the tower. I just don't see it happening. I don't know how they could possibly have a location big enough to fit all of those people, because the clans are like ginormous. It's insanely huge. We've seen their armies in the last seasons. So I just don't know how they plan on doing that. I mean, they'd have to literally create some sort of system. I think I mentioned this before, but they'd have to create some sort of anti-radiation system that goes into the atmosphere at this point. And I'm sure there'll be something. They'll find some crazy plan that I'm just too dumb to think of at this point. But right now, it's looking super, super bleak. And I just can't think of an idea of how it could logically work. So at this point, it's not looking too good for them. And then, of course, we have the other side of the story where a great opening, a very tragic opening, where they start with the guy, like, on the day that this City of Light was destroyed, and he killed his brother and his father, and he was about to kill himself, and right when he snaps out of it, he gets to rescue his mother just in enough time to watch her die in his arms. And I was like, that is a tragic opening. And he wasn't as forceful as I thought, because it was actually his ambassador that was going to challenge Roan, but I thought for sure that he was going to be the one that was super violent, and that could still be the case, because of course in this episode the whole thing with Polis is that Roan is training to really get back into fighting shape, and he's trying not to be the ruler that his mother was, and he knows that this challenge is coming, so he's training, and he's getting his butt kicked. Like, he lost Alexa before they even mentioned that. Like, that was before he was even injured. He was losing Alexa, but now he's got like this crazy, bullet wound, so he can't really fight much with his left arm. And so now he's just struggling. He's trying to survive and trying to get better and better, because he knows that this challenge is coming. And it's like, hey, either I'm going to win or I'm going to lose, and that's just the way it's going to be. And, they try to talk the guy out of it, but of course that fails. And Raven knows, or I don't know if I said Raven, but Octavia knows that this isn't going to work. Like, there's no way in the world Roan is going to be able to do this. And she went like, I don't know if any of you play video games, but she went like full Assassin's Creed, which oddly enough, that's the shirt I'm wearing, that's what the shirt is. But she went like full Assassin's Creed on this guy. Like, she puts on the cloak. Also, there's another video game reference. When she walked in, when they were first telling Roan about the guy, the ambassador, planning to challenge him, I swear I felt like she was dressed like Lara Croft. Like, she had like the gun straps and everything, and like a t-shirt. I was like, why does she look exactly like Lara Croft right now? I thought that was so weird. So she had two little video game modes in this, but she goes into the guy's house or cabin or whatever, and he's talking to her stuff, and he's like, so you're trying to scare me and stuff, and she just murders him perfectly too. Like, she stabs him straight through the ear, so it's impossible to tell. She stabs him straight through the ear. She wipes the blood off. She like scoops his ear out of blood, and it's like, well, that is done. And she just puts the cloak back on and she takes off. And it was just a crazy sequence. It's like she's getting really, really dark because she just wants to survive. And I don't know if we'll get more of that from her this season, but I really hope we do, because she's in such a different position now that she's lost Lincoln. And, there's been so many differences with her character from everybody else that's landed on Earth. And I'm excited to see how dark they go with her character, because she's in such a different position than even the last season, where she decided to actually join the Grounders, and then of course she loses Lincoln, and there's just so much going on with her character. So I'm very excited to see how far we go with this, but this is a great start. I mean, she went and she did what she knew she had to do, and she takes this guy out, and I don't know what's going to happen with her, because no one seemed too happy. I mean, even like Rowan's bodyguard, I think she wants Rowan to die, because she's constantly talking about his mom and how she was fierce and this and that. And he's like, I don't want to be that type of leader. And she doesn't really seem to support him that much. I mean, she was training him to fight, but, of course the kid was scared, because he's like, are you going to kill me too? And, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But as she's walking out, the bodyguard looks at her, she turns and looks like, she killed that guy. So I don't know what anybody's thinking about her at this point, so we just have to see what happens. But I, personally speaking, I thought it was a really cool sequence. I was like, that was very dark, but that is exactly what she needed to do, because Roan was going to lose. He was definitely going to get killed off. But she ends up saving his life in this episode, as well as saving, everybody's life as far as, Sky Crew is concerned. So I'm definitely excited to see where they go with her character, because it's not over. After what she did in this episode, there's going to be some fairly important elements for her story-wise coming up. So I'm definitely excited for that. Certainly love this episode. Like I said, technically they didn't go 2 steps back. They just had a nice step forward a little bit, saving their lives a little bit more from Octavia's side of things. And then from the other side of things, they kind of they went backwards because they saved all the people, which honestly, my main thing was like, well, couldn't they have just taken the thing today and then just come back? Because it seemed like they left in the same day, because they left and then they got to Ice Nation, it was daytime. They did all that stuff and came back and it was still daytime. They didn't say like it was overnight or anything like that. It wasn't nighttime until this scene where like Octavia killed the guy, I don't think. So I don't know, maybe it was over the course of 2 days, and all the small groups thing with Bellamy and stuff was just during the daytime, but it seemed like it didn't even take them a full day, so I don't know. But all I was thinking the whole time was like, couldn't they just leave now and then just come back after and say, hey, we need something else? Because they had machine guns and stuff. They could have found some way to like take them down. But it was like, all right, well, they're dead. And especially when they showed the scene of the thing exploding, it seemed like they only killed like 5 people, because they only had like 5 people in that corridor segment. And I was like, that makes it look like there were only like 5 people in this whole place. But they got surrounded and there were other people. So of course there were more. They just made it look like there were so few people when they actually set off the bomb. It looked like it wasn't even worth it, because I'm like, they easily could have just shot them up. But I like the way it played out. Great moment where it's revealed that the leader that took over that part of the ship was actually the one that killed Monty's dad. So that was an interesting moment, and he lets the people go and they get the kill instead of him doing it on his own. So that was a very interesting moment in this episode, but I certainly enjoyed it. Of course, very excited to see how in the world they end up surviving this situation, but we'll love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and I definitely want to know where you think they're going with Octavia after this episode, because there are quite a few eyes on her. People, well, it's just her and one other person, and as far as Sky Crew, but he's looking at her. You got the king looking at her, his bodyguard, and then this other kid who I feel like is going to lead some sort of revolt. I think, now that they've killed off the ambassador, it's going to go down to this guy where it's like, okay, well, she killed him, and she might come after me, but I want revenge for my family because of what they did. So, not 100% sure where that's headed, but I would love to know your guesses on it and how things are going to play out with her character in Polis and stuff like that. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So like I said, please comment below, let me know. And of course, thanks for watching.